A lot this week. I've been busy. Boss teachers. I've been thinking a lot about teacher authority with my beginning teachers. They are in a tricky place working in schools. They know that they are not yet teachers. They don't hold the authority of their mentor teachers, but they do need to be treated with respect. A couple of my beginning teachers have been told by their students that they would not listen to them because they are not really teachers. Ouch. When I talk with my beginning teachers, we talk about being in this tender spot as a beginner, needing to be the teacher, not sure what that means, and the ability of some rude kids to deflate any sense of teacher validity they are trying to carry. We've had good talks about how respect comes from expecting respect and earning respect, not simply waiting for kids to make up their minds about how to treat us. Expecting respect means we have to hold on to the dignity of our work, our teaching, as important. If we don't believe in the value of our work to start with, then we are not respecting ourselves. If we don't respect our work, ourselves, then how should we expect our students to treat us? Earning respect comes from what we give them. They know when our teaching comes from knowing who they are, expecting a lot of them, and making it possible for them to grow and to succeed. Respect for the teacher comes from good teaching. We don't respect bad teaching, neither should they. When we wrestle with what it takes to be the teacher kids respect, some of my beginning teachers bring up their mentor teachers, the ones who guide them in their fieldwork preparation. Some of them we have come to call boss teachers. All of us have had boss teachers growing up. Some of us might be boss teachers. Boss teachers are the ones who have absolute authority in their classrooms. A boss teacher is all about clear routines and procedures, practiced again and again until there is no need to say how we line up, what happens with materials, what makes an assignment acceptable. Boss teachers have a presence in how students move through the day, through their learning, and through their work. Students carry with them in all that they are doing a sense of what the teacher expects. And the boss teacher holds high expectations, always. A lot of us would have trouble with teacher as boss. Everything that happens in the classroom being so much about that teacher and their authority. In the past, I thought that this kind of teaching was too much about the teacher, a kind of vanity and indulgence in power. I think about it differently now. There will be the boss teacher that is all about themselves, but there are the boss teachers whose overriding authority is clearly about their students. When done with students in mind, these boss teachers make a world that makes sense to students, an ordered place where their attention and focus is on their learning. Think about classes you have been in where there is a constant noise of reactive teaching, the teacher interrupting their teaching again and again to fix behaviors, refocus students, reminding them what they are supposed to be doing again and again. Boss teachers set the substrate, how we belong in the class, how we treat each other, what our responsibilities are to our learning, with such insistence and such clarity that the time in school becomes so much more so about engaged learning. One of my beginning students pushed my thinking on this. She said that she was at first intimidated by her mentor, her boss teacher, and worried about what this kind of teaching did to the kids in her class. Then she said she noticed how focused and engaged her students had become. She came to understand the virtue of this kind of boss teaching when she visited other classrooms in the school, where too much of the time little learning was happening. The kids in these classrooms and the teachers spent a lot of time working out what they should be about. Boss teachers, the right ones, set up kids to have the confidence that their class world works for them. The students know what they are about and can go on with learning that matters. Policing kids. The conversations about teacher respect and authority have led us to think about managing kids. I've never liked the word management as in classroom management. It seems a euphemism for the kind of teacher authority that is about control and making kids behave. My students have been struggling with a constant expectation that they should be monitoring kids' behavior in everything the kids do all the time, and then through teacher authority make the kids behave in the right ways. They understand that when kids are doing independent or group work, that their job as teacher is to make sure the kids are on task and behaving in line with getting things done. Whatever their kids might do that pulls away from these two is a problem and must be corrected. The one off-task behavior that teachers really seem to have trouble with is kids talking about stuff other than what they are supposed to be working on. This expectation that all the kids' attention must be on task, that the whole of their consciousness should be about what we tell them to do, is a problem for us as teachers. It is a kind of teacher authority out of bounds with working with real live humans. People are social and want to tell each other things. We thought about how policing kids, the constant monitoring and correcting of behavior, defines teaching too much. We thought about the portion of any day, the number of times during any day, that our interaction with students is about correcting them. Maybe some of you have done this. Ask kids to make a skit where one of them acts as the teacher. You know what the kids do when they act as teachers. They tell their pretend students how to behave and spend all their time looking for misbehavior. How much of this is a reality in our teaching? How much is this understood as the main thing teachers do? One of my beginning teachers told us about how her mentor teacher just sets out students for independent work and then just lets them go, not chasing after them to make sure that they work and behave. Scary? How many of us are so brave, trusting of our students, or more importantly, trusting of our own teaching, knowing that we have set up our students to be just fine on their own? What we realized together was the respect this teacher showed her students, a respect that students reciprocated by being focused and doing right by their own learning because of the teacher's faith in them. How do we do more of this and less policing? One big problem with teaching as policing is that it takes up our entire attention. We put on blinders to only look for kids behaving, doing what they are supposed to do. We miss kids as kids being both social and messy with what we give them as they make sense for themselves and live their lives in our classroom. When my beginning teachers get stuck on behavior, only talk about student behavior, and organize their teaching around constant control, I tell them that teaching is both a science and an art. Policing may be about constant vigilance. Art and science are not. Artists and scientists purposefully step back from their work to make sense of what is going on. To understand the whole, the patterns, the point of their activity, they have to step back and take in what is happening in that moment, in all its reality, without constant treatment. I ask my beginning teachers, where is the space you have made in your lesson to make sense of what kids are learning? Think about allowing yourself moments to not be always on as a teacher. Time to appreciate your students being who they are, trusting their engagement, and appreciating that your students own their engagement because of the good teaching you set out for them. Educational change in teacher learning. Spent the last weekend with math teacher leaders from across the state. California is setting out a new mathematics teaching framework, and our group is one of the organizations tasked to make it work for kids and their teachers. We had a good discussion about how we might do this work. We also remembered how past initiatives like this so easily fell into a mess. Some things worth thinking about. The first is about how teachers are positioned in educational change initiatives. Most of you will know that teachers are usually simply the recipients of some change initiative set out from some experts on high. And you likely have experienced some lost in translation, where the change may be grand and wonderful, the best thing ever from a philosophical place, but when forced through the machinery of making things teachable, becomes clumsy, ugly, or incomprehensible to us. Too often this comes about because teachers are not deeply involved in setting out what might be changed or how the change should come about. We talked about how to make the new framework real for teachers. The familiar came up first. We will do professional development to take apart the framework and then make it comprehensible to teachers. I asked the odd question to the group, as I often do. Why don't we ask teachers how they want to go about learning the new framework and then making it real? This came from a stance to teacher education that I've held on to for some time. If we believe in a responsive pedagogy for kids, working from who they are, what they want to learn, and what they offer us as we teach, then why don't we do this with teachers as we work with them in their learning about pedagogy? We don't do brain dumps with kids anymore, just filling their heads with something someone says is important knowledge. We shouldn't expect this to be done to us in our learning as teachers either. Lastly, AI. Just bad. A company presented to our math teacher leaders group an online AI platform meant to tutor kids in math. Failed badly on 2 accounts. The first is that you should never simply set out math problems to a group of math teachers and expect that there is a single way to look at the problem or how to solve it. You will get the math teacher's stink eye. This AI program was not accepting perfectly valid alternate approaches to solving systems of equations problems in algebra. Such a program to work would have to have a robust library of ways to approach standard kinds of problems. Don't even think about non-standard programs. They might break the program's mind. The second failure had to do with mentoring. The program was supposed to give feedback to the user as they worked out the problem. A living, breathing math teacher giving good feedback asks just the right probing questions and points out features of a student's solution that needs some attention, some reconsideration. This live feedback still lets the learner own their math, their thinking, and problem solving. The AI feedback simply forced students to a single solution path, and if you kept messing up, it just gave you the answer. Good math teachers never just give the answer. Not fair to students, and a breach in the trust we should hold that they can work out things for themselves. I talked with the presenters afterwards. It was plain that there was one enormous problem for their product. The math teachers setting out the content were not talking to the engineers making the interface. Again, teacher positionality. We need to be vigilant about asserting what we know about learning and learners in everything pushed at us. Do share comments or stories of your own. I am still working out how to best share what matters to me in teaching and schooling. Reach out if you want a conversation or if you have some ideas from me. Thank you for giving this some attention.